All right, good morning. If you are awake by the time this goes live, we are up and at 'em. So, I don't know if you can hear that, but getting all of those morning notifications here. And basically, we're going to jump right in. Little bit of a different format today. So, thank you for being here if you are dropping in. And I'm going to be pulling the chat up over here. Get me out of the way. All right. Couple things on the agenda, but basically, what I'm going to be doing with these office hours is working. If somebody happens to drop in and you want to go on some sort of a tangent or something, let me know in the chat. I'm still trying to learn about all this, but yeah, let's rock and roll. So, one thing I wanted to go over was if you use Gemini or any LLM large language models, you'll probably notice they get a little draggy. What I'm in the process of doing, taking my current chat, I don't know how many days I've been using it, all the way down, hold shift to select all, control copy, and then we will just open up a new one. Let's get this thinking. You can see all that. And what is this? Don't know what that is, but let's drop everything. Hey, what am I paying for? Now, sometimes these get a little finicky, which you can also do. Open up a notepad, drop that in. And then everybody looking at my stuff. Bunch of screenshotters. So we'll just call this. There we go. See if it works. Benching you up. And bring that over here. Oh, we'll get to that. So I didn't have time to do a screenshot. We could always do that together. I do want to bring this chat up just in case somebody jumps in. Oh, hello. Somebody jumping in the chat. Anything you want to go over? All right, we'll see if they respond. Yeah, we'll get into that here in a bit. But what are we doing today? The Silent Bard. Never lose your stream. Call this Have my notebook ready. Hey, all right. Always bring your supplies. Audio sounds okay. Looks okay. Tracking about -10 decibels, which a lot of people, they want to OBS for Twitch. I've never Twitched before. What are we doing here? Create your brain. I don't know. That's a little trademarked. Manifesto. There we go. That sounds ominous. And then, how about we get ourselves a screenshot? How are we gonna do that? Do this. Wait a minute. I was researching this. You want to look determined. And tired. Glassy eyes. So, go here. Here, you're just going to save it. Save to downloads. Here, in case you can't tell, I'm just using Canva, which is great. Live. What do we like this? We don't want to get LB. Oh, by the way, if you haven't met LB, can you hear that? I don't think so. I can go over that as well. One other thing I recommend, again, for people with ADHD, keep a notebook, because sometimes even like, I don't like using people's names, but you are in the chat. We'll just call you Rose. Always bring your notebook, but then, yeah, jot down notes, because if you sometimes take a few clicks to get to your digital notebook or anything like that, by the time, you know, somebody like me gets there, all of a sudden you've thought of 3 other things, and then that one disappears. Maybe not forever, but it could. So, what I was saying is, there are settings on OBS, which you probably already know there in the chat. If you go to your settings down here, I believe it's this one. Whoops, this one. And filters, maybe? I don't know. Let's try. Yeah, so on your filters, it's the same thing as when we were looking at Sonar and all of those plugins, that chain. This works similarly, where you've got your different filters that you can add down here. VST is anything third party that you buy, so let's just add one generic. And then you can see it's got a couple here that I have. VSL, Vienna Symphonic Library. That's pretty solid. That's if you're into orchestral type composition, things like that. These wave shells don't work, which is a drag. But these are pretty good in general. And I don't think that any of these are going to actually load. We're not going to auto-tune on here. But yeah, we'll trash that one. But yeah, basically, noise suppression, general noise suppression. So your computer's loud or anything like that, it will reduce that. Then your noise gate, I've got set at the close threshold of -35 to -28 for the open. And then these are standard times that you'll see on any sort of a compressor or a gate. And then, like, as you can see here, you've got your ratio. Now, what I do, because of the shemagh, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, I raise up the high. Now, this band is pretty basic. 3-band EQ, and so the highs we're boosting to kind of lighten up the higher end so it comes through and it doesn't sound as muffled. Also helping with the muffledness, cutting the mids at about 3 decibels. And then also we want to roll our lows off just so that they get rid of any sort of muddiness that might come through. Again, compression is going to be cutting those big pops if you say anything loud. And then your limiter, like we looked at with the L2 compressor or maximizer in Sonar, is going to raise everything up. And again, you don't want this to be at 0 because then you will get those clips. And yeah, standard quick release there. So there's that. And then we got that. I'm glassy-eyed. OH004, create your manifesto. I don't know if this is a good look and using the word manifesto. Let's cross off talking about the EQ. Other thing I'm kind of excited about is NotebookLM, and I'll dig into that a little bit here. One thing I do want to try is to see if we can update our thumbnail and everything while we're live, because frankly didn't have time to do that before we got started, so we're going to try to do that right now. Thank you. I should try to... I've got some fun emojis in there. So yeah, we got LB down here hanging out. And yeah, let's see if we can update our thumbnail. I don't like that word manifesto. So I'm over on the other side of the screen. I don't know. Can you hear my keyboard? It's tasty. It's got mechanical keys. It sounds great, but I don't know with the gate that I've got on OBS if that is even coming through, which is a shame. But at the same time, I'm not going to spend time, you know, miking the keyboard only. Maybe in the future we get a more advanced setup. Better word than manifesto, please. Has everybody used Canva? Yeah, manifesto sounds a bit political or erratic. Erratic. Not necessarily a bad thing. So yeah, manifesto can sound a little bit erratic according to this. Blueprint, playbook, the directive, source code. I don't know. I don't think I can do a poll. Let's see if I can drop in. This probably is not going to work. But the other main thing that we're focusing on here is engage. Start a poll. Add a question. Let's see. Blueprint, playbook, directive, source code. Whoa. Yes or no? Looks and sounds great. Thank you. And one person was commenting yesterday, title, just leave that over here, see what happens. Really tiny, it locks in. All right, well, yeah, we'll leave that up, see what happens. All right, in the meantime, because we can always change that, get your, like, source code. Silent Bard. Yeah, again, don't think about that too much. Manifesto's all right. I appreciate it. Again, we can always change it later. We're going to download. I don't have the premium version. We'll do JPEG, download. Go to our downloads. I'm over on this side of the screen. We call it OH004 thumb. And I'm just kind of curious. Let's see if we can jump into YouTube Studio. Oh, and another thing I was finding yesterday when I went to edit OH01 was if I sit here and just ramble the entire time, which I still probably am, don't pop anything weird up. Let's see. All right, that's showing us there, but we have our old thumbnail, looks like. I don't know if we'll be able to change the thumbnail. There we go. Change OH004. I think I named the wrong one. So let's change that. Actually, this playlist, learn with the silent bard and LB. Let's do another one. New playlist. Office hours. Starting at 0430 Eastern Standard Time daily. And one thing that I was looking at yesterday is one of the most important things that you do that takes up a lot of time is generating your metadata and your descriptions, which are absolutely critical for your SEO, which is a search engine optimization. So what I'm doing over here on the other side, I'll bring this over, why not? Help me. And then after this, we'll get into NotebookLM. If you're not familiar with that, it's pretty crazy. I've been using it for a while for different applications, but I just, with this new channel, have been dropping some sources in there, and I'm pretty amazed with the results. It has some updates that if you've ever used it in the past, you might not be familiar with the new updates. So I highly recommend checking it out. And welcome to the grind. And always read these as well. This is the raw, unedited archive of the Wunderwoods factory. Every morning at 4:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Silent Bard goes live to document the reality of building an AI media empire easy. What to expect: real-time music production, Sonar, Suno, Waves, operational strategy, and factory OS building, Notion, NotebookLM. The failures, oh, the failures, and the troubleshooting, and the Sawdust. Zero edits, zero fluff, 100% execution. Yeah, it's a little over the top, but let's go ahead and not think too much about it, because that is my biggest problem, is overthinking. I have tendencies of perfectionism, which a lot of people do. We'll just go newest to oldest. Create, locked in, selected, done. No, it's not made for kids. Show more. Altered content, no. No paid promotion yet. Actor, SKU moments. Automatic places, no thank you. Tags, I don't, I've heard that that's not really that important anymore. Let's do it anyway. Tags, so back to what I was saying. when I went to edit OH001, it was kind of all over the place, not a lot of silence in between. And so when using CapCut, and it's got a great automated silence remover, redundant words, like repeated words is what it says, or filler words like which I don't think I do a lot of, but nobody notices how much they do it until you listen back to yourself, which again is horrific. If you've ever recorded yourself giving a speech and then tried to listen back to it, or if you're a conductor and you watch yourself conducting a rehearsal, performance isn't so bad unless it's bad, but luckily I've never had any train wrecks. Jeez. All right, double check these silent bar at office hours. 10:40 a.m. Welcome to the, I said 10:40 a.m. 0430 Maniac Club. There we go. Building in public, Suno, cakewalk, notebook. Looks good to me. Well, embedding, remix, why not? Science tech, we can stick with that even though we're predominantly music. We are heavily focused on the tech side of it. Comments on moderation, behave. Sort by top. Can we pull? Playbook got 100%. I mean, are you able to drop a poll? Is that what you're asking? Or do I need to give permissions or something? I'll end that poll. Changes saved. Let's check it out. So now, one view. Thank you. That's all right. Hopefully we'll start connecting with all the maniacs out there that want to wake up this early and hang with us. We'll go down some rabbit holes. Maybe I'll just sit here in silence and work, but the whole idea, what's the guy's name? Gary something. He talks, oh, here we go. Delirium and Donut Society. Oh, donuts. I can't do donuts first thing in the morning. The only thing I do is an energy drink, but I'm trying to get off of those as well. So, what do you say? What do you want to jump into? The Don't Stop Believin' crew. There you go. Let's jump into NotebookLM. So this is, if you're not familiar with this, I recommend jumping in and just playing around with it. So I made one. These are featured notebooks up here from other people or maybe from the company. Is this the poll? The Rise and Wine Collective. I used to live in South Florida. I know some people that were in the Rise and Wine Collective. Called tourists. All right, so let's jump into NotebookLM. If you're not familiar with this, what it basically is a notebook language model. So LLMs, large language models, that's the ones that everybody's familiar with, like ChatGPT, Gemini, which I use. I mean, I've used all of them, or a good amount of them, like Claude, things like that. Those are taking from a massive database of information, and they're basically constantly scrubbing it. That's why when you look at those, they'll put in disclaimers like anything before, June of 2024 or 2025, whatever, and they won't be able to necessarily give you up-to-date information unless they do an active search. But they're constantly updating those and everything. Well, what NotebookLM is a small language model, and it takes your information that you feed it. So let's just jump into the Wunderwoods here. And you doing good? I don't know if you can hear that. He is real, and no, he's not a mic. When I was leaning over here, somebody mentioned that it sounded like, or it looked like I was speaking to him on a mic. My mic is right down here, and it seems to be picking up pretty well. So, jumping into this, you add your sources here. You can drag and drop, anything like that. If you have anything, early birdies, I like that. Yeah, so if you have anything in your Google Drive, you can reference that. Link to a website. I've had hit or miss on certain websites. And then YouTube. That is probably one of the most powerful. So if you are interested in learning about anything, you can actually, if you think about it, anybody jumping in the chat, why don't you drop something you want to learn about? We can make another notebook and experiment with that. And you can just drop in your own copied text. So if I wanted to, I don't know, do a daily Gemini scrub where I copy my Gemini chat from the previous day, drop it into a copied text, then basically you are getting a log daily of everything that you talked about with Gemini, drop it in it here, and then you can go back through and ask it about that. The one caveat or thing to at least be aware of when you're dealing with NotebookLM is that it takes your sources as the source of truth. So if you drop a bunch of nonsense in there or misinformation, then I don't like that word, but you know what I'm saying. If you drop in things that aren't true or inaccurate, then it will treat them as accurate. Now, if there's some dissonance because you have competing sources, then it may bring that up. I'm not sure exactly. This is the coolest thing. Discover sources. So when you click this, it'll drop down this box here. And you can either have it search your drive, if maybe you uploaded science research paper or something like that. Drop it in here into your drive, or you can source of truth. Yes, yay. Or you can have it search the web. Fast research, or this is recently added, the deep research. So that is pretty interesting. So what I've done, and it'll generate a report. So this is 2025. It gives you an outline here. You can read that. This gives you an overview, but then it gives a full report on whatever you asked it to research. This is new. I'm not sure exactly when they updated this, but it's pretty insane. And then what I did is I dragged in all of our pieces of music so that it can get the lyrics. Man Who Tamed the Crow, shout out to Silent the Bard. Silent the Bard. Simple the Guy, Silent the Bard. Maybe I'll change mine to that. So yeah, basically is another piece of ours. Request quests are live. That's when we were going over tally. And thought I had put in our live streams as well. I'll double check that. There we go. OH001. So when you upload anything via YouTube, after it processes, it will also automatically create the captions for it. So when you do that, this will transcribe it, and it is basically going to know everything that you were talking about. Let's get into the exciting part. I'm going to open it up. You want to make a new notebook, or you want to check this one out? Let's open it up to the chat. Another cool thing about this, you can change learning guide, default, shorter, longer, default, response lengths. We got on learn, let's go to default. And then you can also customize it. So do that. Open up new one, okay. What do you want to learn about? What subject would you like? Should we do a poll? What subject? What's lulls mean? LUFS? As in -10 LUFS when we're talking about music production? LUF. We are going to talk LUFS as in -10. Well, let's check it out. Close this. Go back to our main page. Create a new notebook. What have I done? So, search the web for news sources. Let's do deep research. Leave that over here for now. Except I can't see the chat. Perfect. All right, we like LUFS. All right, so I am copying this over. Basically, what it's asking for is the -14 LUFS myths. Just drop it in because it takes a minute for this to work. We're going to go web, deep research. let it do its thing. I do want to talk about this section over here, which is pretty amazing. Basically, you can learn anything. For example, I mentioned yesterday or the other day about one of my side notes of something that I needed to track on was learning keyboard shortcuts. That's something that is really, really critical anytime you're learning a new piece of software. So what I might do is have it research. I mean, you don't have to do deep research on this, but have it search for the Sonar shortcuts. You can then go over here and drop in quiz and ask it to quiz you on the keyboard shortcuts of Sonar. I'm old school, handwritten flashcards, or I also mentioned the program Anki, N-A-K-I, which is a great system. While that's loading, I want to show you something. Let's look at, this is something that we created yesterday.
So we have to talk about what's happening right now, live. We are witnessing what I can only describe as a tier 1 strategic move in the creator economy.
It's unfolding as we speak. We're watching this creator, the Bard, and he's not just, uploading a new video. He is building something else entirely.
Entirely. This is an AI-powered media entity, and he's engineering it systematically to hit some really aggressive financial goals by, mid-2026.
That's the target. And for anyone watching this, you need to forget the idea of just making content. What we're actually analyzing here is the construction of an entire system, a factory.
A factory, and at the heart of it is this concept we're calling the AI second brain, and it's all being built inside Google's NotebookLM.
Yes, and that right there, that changes the game. The whole competitive landscape is shifting. It's no longer about who can make the most content. It's about who has the highest operational velocity.
Operational velocity, that's it. That's the term. It perfectly sums up what he's building. And according to his core document, this Wunderwoods factory manifesto, the whole thing runs on 3 non-negotiable laws.
3 laws.
Yeah.
And they are brutal in their simplicity.
Yeah.
Ultra fast, super cheap, and
good enough.
Good enough.
Yeah.
I love that. The idea that volume itself will correct for any small dips in quality, that speed is the real product.
I mean, it's a radical idea, but it's built for the current environment. And here's the kicker, the part that just blows my mind. He is uploading his entire business plan, the whole manifesto, directly into the AI.
So he's turning the AI into a partner.
Not just a partner, a strategic partner, an executive, a COO that works 24/7 for free and knows the business plan better than he does. It's a paradigm shift.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to break down this strategy piece by piece. We'll look at the brain, the research, the money, and the attention system he's building. We'll connect it all back to our 2025 YouTube Trends report and show you why every single creator needs to be studying this right now. Because this isn't just a trend. This is the new starting line.
Okay, let's start with the architecture itself, the very foundation, the manifesto.
We'll jump back into that. We've got our deep research. If you're just joining us, yeah, it's amazing. I don't know if you've seen the updates, but it now has deep research capability built into it. So we just had a request from someone else to talk about LUFS, which is, well, let's add these in and we'll learn about it. How about that? So it gives you the entire executive summary of this. So loudness units, full scale integrated, often associated with Spotify's normalization standard. So if you're interested in music production, it's very important when you're distributing, whether you use DistroKid, BandLab, Avid Play, anything like that, that your levels are up to the standard when it sends out to Spotify, TikTok, YouTube, and all of that. If it's not, then it kind of gets buried as lower quality music. So even if, you record with your phone and your drums sound like a trash can, which I'm not knocking that. Actually, I've been in recording sessions where they would use a couple of bricks, slap them together, and you get kind of the crumbles on the ground as well. And then you just layer that in with your snare. Now you've got an entirely different snare sound. But by itself, crumbling brick slaps is not going to sound great. So as you're mixing and mastering, you want to use certain techniques that we went over in OH001 yesterday that bring all of your levels up to standards. So basically, let's import this. It gave us quite a few sources. I think before it used to be limited to 10, but let's go ahead and just import this. It'll name it. You can always rename up here once it gets going. And again, if you want to have it teach you, or let's do a custom one. I think we had custom one here. All right, strategy Y. Let's just ask it. We'll give it shorter answers because my attention span is similar to everyone's on the internet now. But, so we've got our instructions there. What do you want to know about LUFS? Yeah, it is a thing. It is definitely a thing. So let's just say you can read that. And anybody who's just listening, or I read an interesting stat that something like 70 or 80% of people watching YouTube will watch just the captions. Probably because they're screwing around at work. Happy Monday, by the way. And yeah, I thought that was a very interesting stat. So if you're reading this or secretly listening to things on your earbuds, LUFS, loudness units full scale integrated. So is essential metric for music distribution because streaming platforms rely on it to enforce loudness normalization, ensuring a consistent listening experience for the audience. I'm going to pause. If you are new to NotebookLM, this will actually give you your sources and it'll show you exactly where it is. If you click on this, it opens up that source. It's generating a quick little summary there, but then it highlights where it pulled that information from. And again, as I was saying, if you're just jumping in here, the information that you drop in here, it assumes is correct. So if you are dropping in incorrect information, it's going to spit it back out at you as if it's the truth. So just be wary of that. So moving forward, the strategic importance of LUFS, however, is that while streaming platforms target a quiet playback level, -14 LUFS on Spotify, mastering precisely to that level can result in a master that sounds quiet and weak compared to commercial tracks when normalization is disabled. So you probably heard me mentioning -10 LUFS. That is pretty safe. Therefore, modern commercial tracks, pop, rock, electronic, adopts competitive standard, typically mastered louder than in the -10 to -8 LUFS range. This higher loudness target is a strategic move to maximize the track's density and punch, ensuring that after the streaming platform turns it down, it sounds professional, impactful next to major label releases in all listening scenarios. Because again, not everybody's going to be sitting in a studio with $5,000 equipment. I'm not, because I don't have that. A lot of people are going to be listening on their phones. So we'll thumb it up. And yeah, this stuff over here, I haven't used video overview very much. It's kind of like a PowerPoint slide, which would be great if you're trying to, you know, brief your team or something, maybe a morning report. You have your entire business plan dropped in here, kind of like I do on this one over here. I've got the business plan. I've got the 2025 Google Trends report somewhere in here. This leaves a little bit to be desired in terms of organization. Looks like it organizes alphabetically. But yeah, pretty amazing. So you might be wondering, how do you actually control your LUFS? Dynamic processing. So that's what we were talking about yesterday. And not just cranking up your volume. Because if you just crank up your volume, then it is going to not have the impact that you're looking for. So when we mastered that piece the other day, yesterday I think it was, we're moving fast. When we mastered that piece yesterday, roads, less lines, what we did was we started with gain staging using a compressor at a 1-to-1 ratio. So again, the ratio of compression is when you reduce or compress the waveform, what are you doing? Like, what's the intensity that you're doing it? So if you're doing something like vocals or something like that, or a general compression, you might do something like a 4-to-1 ratio. And when you're doing something, or when you are doing gain staging, you're just reducing the entire spread of the piece. So that's why you use a 1-to-1 ratio. See what else this has to say. This is good stuff. Okay, it's interesting. Dynamic processing is the precursor. Control over final LUFS begins early by shaping the track's dynamic range, using saturation, compression, and skillful mixing. A track's loudness is ultimately driven by increasing its spectral density, reducing the difference between the peaks and the average level to make the track feel consistently energetic. So if you've got something that has low points and high points, if you don't bring in, how's that look? If you don't bring in your waveform, then the lows are going to be too low, or if you crank up the lows and you're not compressed, then the highs are going to be clipping. And master bus tool, the integrated LUFS meter must be placed at the very last plugin to accurately measure perceived loudness across the entire track. So what that's talking about is, for example, the L2 maximizer that we used yesterday. That is one of the best tools I've found. It's in the Waves suite, you want to call it that, and it is excellent in terms of maximizing. Let me see if I can just bring that up. This is the one we used yesterday. So L2 stereo, I tweaked it at the end because if you look at our analyzer, you can see here that it is at about 1,000 and about 62. So your kick and your snare are peaking, but because we have this set at -0.5, there's some debate on whether it should be -0.1 decibels. And then what you do is you bring your threshold up. Let's just demonstrate. And again, you want to go with the loudest portion of your track. So that's probably going to either be the final chorus or somewhere around here. Let's see. Is that looping me? That's just selecting. Turn on loop. This is Sonar, by the way. And I mentioned yesterday, okay, we had it here. Let's just give it a listen. I don't think this is going to affect your volume. I'll try not to blow you out, though.
Let's get it done. Let's raise the bar toward the sun. Together we'll go far.
So this is with, don't know if you can hear me while that's playing, but this is with 0 threshold. And we're also looking for the attenuation here. You can clear that if you click most. You won't be able to see that, will you? Most have it down here as well on your mixing console. But yeah, anything where you see this and it's changing like that, you should be able to click it to 0 it out so you can get a fresh read. So we're not going to get any attenuation. We're not going to get any attenuation if we don't pull the threshold down.
Let's get it done. Let's raise the bar toward the sun. Together we'll go far. Let's get it done. Let's raise the bar toward the sun. Together we'll go far. Let's
So yeah, we capped at about 2.4. And I think I even adjusted that. I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here. Another side note is that this may or may not be backed by science, but one thing I like to do is sleep on it. So whether that's I'm practicing an instrument and you hit that tempo wall that everybody who's used a metronome has hit, you'll hit a wall where your brain just stops functioning. You can't go any faster. Something like that. Or if you've ever mixed or mastered, you get what's known as ear fatigue, where you're making tweaks, you start hearing way too deep into the mix, and most people don't realize it's time to walk away until it's too late. But when you go to sleep, your brain sort of reorganizes everything, and so it's good to get a fresh listen. So I think I might have had my volume turned up too loud or whatever, but I had this down at like 14.1, and then just listening, and I don't live by the meters, but it is important to check your meter. So at 14,
get it done. Let's raise the bar toward the sun. Together we'll go far. Let's get it done. Let's raise the bar toward the sun. Together we'll
so there you have it. Tangent completed. And on this, should be able to zero this out somehow. Clear memory. Let's go to a quieter section.
Look, the music had lost its sting. My rhythm had lost its style. I was stuck in the past, running on empty for a mile. But now with you on the team, we're gonna shine like a beam. Every curve that I take, no more fucking this mistake. Cause with us as a combined force, we rise like the chorus in your voice. It's the synergy, the vibe, the energy we employ. Let's get it done. Let's raise the bar toward the sun. Together we'll go far. Let's get it done.
So we probably could use to push this a little bit more, because you can see our bass is barely peaking, if it's even hitting that threshold of negative 0.5 decibels. All right, tangent confirmed. Any other questions on LUFS? We good? Or you want me to keep reading this? No reviews? All right. Let's go ahead and generate an audio overview. I haven't used debate. Let's do that. Length default. And fire E? I don't know. Any other buzzwords you want to throw in there? All right, we're going for it. Default English, debate. Let's see what it does. And what I like also about the one I made yesterday, we'll play this a little bit more, is it's a good way to drop in your research. You can even, like I said, add a source, copy text. Maybe you have a summary that you've been working on with one of your language models or something like that. Have it summarize, drop it in here as the latest update. You put your current date and time on it, and you can go to your audio overview, and ask it to give you a general update on the state of your business or anything like that. Because I just started this one, the Wunderwoods, I dropped in some of my own notes and then basically had to do deep research on the 2025 trend reports. Again, I dropped in some of our pieces here, and also standard practice on YouTube longs in terms of like long forms like this one. Live is all right. The retention on these is not great, but that's okay. What you're doing, or what I'm planning on doing with this, is just kind of opening it up to people. I'll be here 4:30 sharp every day, and we'll be just doing whatever I'm working on. Maybe I'll just be sitting here in silence. And what I want to show is the grind, because I'm not going to give you my resume, but there's a lot of stuff. Anytime you do something, there are a lot of things that you do behind the scenes that nobody is ever going to see. And I think it's important for people to realize that you don't just wake up one day and have everything set in place for you, that you have to put the grind in. And so, based on what I'm reading and kind of what I feel like doing, plus it keeps me honest, it keeps me responsible for showing up at 4:30 every day and combining that with my other obligations. So let's listen to a little bit more of this. Drop in the chat what else you want to talk about.
Manifesto is not just a document. He's treating it as the operating system for the entire business.
Exactly. He is not using NotebookLM like, a fancy Google search. He has given it a single source of truth. One document that governs every single decision the AI makes. The Wunderwoods Factory Manifesto.
And this isn't some flimsy mission statement. This
Manifesto
thing
word
is
again.
comprehensive.
Oh, it has to be. It details everything. The objective is there in black and white. Financial independence by July 4, 2026. The core philosophy is laid out, ultra fast, super cheap. It even defines the entire brand universe.
The silent bard persona, right? With the hyper subtle deep forest factory aesthetic.
All of it. And, critically, it contains his entire content filing system, the thing he calls the matrix. It's all in there.
So by feeding this incredibly detailed blueprint into NotebookLM, he's basically giving the AI a PhD in his own business.
Instantly. It gains a level of contextual intelligence that, no human assistant could ever match, and certainly no generic LLM could.
You
You
doing
can't
good?
just ask ChatGPT about this stuff.
He even put his personal constraints in there. I saw a section on how he uses on-screen Notion checklists to manage his ADHD during live streams.
And
Easy.
that's the detail that makes this so powerful. The system isn't just fast, it's aware of his personal workflow. It knows his limitations. The AI, Gemini, it now understands his niche, his brand, his financial goals, even his personal psychology, better than anyone.
It's a true second brain. It has perfect instant recall of every single strategic decision he's ever made.
Which transforms it from just a tool into a manager, a guardian of the strategy.
Okay, so let's talk about the platform choice. Why NotebookLM? What is it about this specific tool that makes it the right place to house this factory? And how does it solve the biggest problem with AI, which is hallucination?
The answer is one word: trust. It's all about trust and verifiability. NotebookLM is fundamentally different from just chatting with a generic LLM. It's designed from the ground up to work with your sources.
So it's a closed system. Its knowledge is limited to what you give it.
Precisely. You upload your PDFs, your documents, your transcripts, whatever. It analyzes them, it synthesizes them, it creates new content.
Yeah.
But every single word it generates is grounded in the documents you provided.
Grounded. I like that. So it can't just make stuff up.
It can't. And this is the feature that makes it professionally viable. When the AI gives you an answer or a summary, it includes these little inline citations. And if you click one of those citations,
It takes you right to the source.
to the exact passage in the original document where it got the information. That is built-in accountability. It's proof.
So if the AI suggests a new video title, he doesn't have to wonder if
Hey!
it fits the brand. He can just click the citation and see it referencing a paragraph in the manifesto about the silent bard aesthetic.
And that one feature kills the risk of hallucination. For a business built on speed, you can't have the AI going off the rails. It has to be right every single time. This feature guarantees that. It builds professional trust.
It changes the AI's role completely. It's not a creative muse. It's a verified, evidence-based analyst.
It's a strategic partner you can actually rely on.
Which brings us to the first big payoff. The NLM metadata protocol. This is where that operational velocity you mentioned really comes into play, right? Automating that top of the funnel.
doing
work.
good.
Oh, absolutely.
Doing
The
well.
workflow here is just, it's engineered for pure speed. So he does these long office hours live streams every day. Those are his raw assets, the OH004 files.
Okay.
He takes the raw transcript from the stream or even just the VOD link, and he drops it straight into NotebookLM. Now, normally, that's just a huge, messy data dump.
But because the AI has the manifesto for context,
It becomes strategic fuel. The AI reads the transcript of the day's work. It cross-references it with the manifesto's goals, like how shorts, the FXXX assets, need to drive traffic to the edited videos, the OH004 assets, and it goes to work
it spits out the metadata.
instantly. Optimized titles, hooks that you can use for thumbnails, relevant hashtags, all of it perfectly tailored to his strategy, designed to feed the algorithm and push viewers down the funnel.
This is a direct assault on the biggest time suck for any creator, SEO. The mental energy it takes to come up with a good title, description, tags, for every single piece of content.
It's the biggest bottleneck. The 2025 YouTube landscape is a brutal competitive space. You need optimized metadata just to survive, but doing that manually when you're trying to be ultra fast, it's impossible. It's a human limitation.
And he's just automated it.
He's automated. He goes from spending, I don't know, an hour on metadata to spending seconds. All that time, all that cognitive load is now freed up to do the one thing that matters in his system: produce more content.
He's turned strategic planning, which is normally this high-friction, painful process, into a completely automated, low-friction pipeline. The second the content exists, the packaging is ready to go.
That is operational velocity.
Okay, so that brings us to the next level of this. Part 2, the deep research flex. The manifesto has made the AI a genius about his strategy, his intentions, but now he has to teach it the mechanics.
This is what
All right, we'll stop that now. What do you think? Would you want me to post that entire audio so you can kind of see the game plan for this channel? What do you say? A playbook. I don't know if that was one of the options. Start a poll. All right, we got the poll rocking. Yeah, anything else to go over? Like I said, we are at about an hour, 11 minutes. And we barely scratched the surface on NotebookLM. Basically, it's amazing. And I would say, rise and grind. That sounds like the name of a coffee shop. I'm gonna... And grind. Coffee truck. All right. I don't know how that wouldn't already be. Rise and grind coffee, of course. That's the amazing thing nowadays with just the saturation of information across the world and the interconnectability. The fact that you come up with an idea, you're like, that's original. And then you go and look it up. I don't comment in YouTube chats. I mean, maybe on like a live feed like this, I'll jump in and talk, but a lot of them are so busy that, you know, it's difficult to even get a word in edgewise. You know, but yeah, you'll drop a comment in, or you'll go to drop a comment, then you read 3,000 other people had the same witty remark. A little depressing. 50% say yes. Only 50%? All right. Mixed reviews. I like that. That's the sound of democracy. So, anything else that you would like to go over? Basically, my game plan for the rest of the day is to take this video once it processes. Although, actually, I did change our settings so that if you didn't check that video out, if you are using OBS and you are live streaming, if you also click this box here, then it will save to your destination file that you set over in output. So I'm not going to show you that one, but yeah, that lets you have the file and then immediately start editing if you're going to use your long form content to make shorts, or start cutting it up to make a more polished medium length tutorial or whatever kind of thing that you're into. So I have not done that yet, but basically to update on office hours, these are going to be daily at 04:30 Eastern Standard Time, and that's the only time I'm going to do live for now, because I have a tendency, in case you can't notice, to be a little obsessive about things. So if I went to saying I was going to record everything live and do the grind entirely live, I don't think that that's sustainable, because basically talking while you're working, it is distracting. And it's great. I love the chat. I like that people are starting to engage. That's really awesome. Keep it coming. If you want to go down any sort of rabbit holes, bunny trails, anything like that, drop them in there. I'm easily distracted and I like learning things. So let's do it. And unless nobody has anything else, I'm going to let this video start to process. I'm going to keep this LUFS, and I might even look into possibly making another notebook that is public. That's the last thing we'll do. So if you want to, you can add people in groups. I don't know if I can add. No. I'll have to play around with that. Welcome notes. Notebook access restricted. Anyone with a link. Whole notebook. Why not? Yeah, because if you want to make your own audio overview or anything like that, that's really where NotebookLM gets exciting, is making your own audio overview. It can do mind maps that are interactive. Flashcards, again, big fan. I haven't messed around with slide deck or infographic. Done a little bit with quiz, but yeah, a daily report for your business. Excellent stuff there. And video overview is sort of like a PowerPoint with different types of flavors and stuff like that. So I'm going to drop this into the chat and I'll stay on for a few more minutes. So that's just going over LUFS. But before we go, anything else that you'd like me to add to this in terms of mixing or mastering? You got anything, LB? No? %. Let's see if we can. We are divided as a Wunderwood nation. So, last call on any other resources. I'll just add in general mastering, because that seems to be the vibe here. I'm over here in Gemini. Give me one DR prompt for basically, it's going to snip this over to Gemini. You can fatten it up. For general mixing and mastering techniques. Sound good? How do you know when the song is done being mastered? It's a great question. I would say when it sounds good. Like, no, that's what you always hear people say, like, use your ears, experiment. And then I'm always thinking to myself, well, how? Like, I'm not an engineer. My background's in music, which that's a whole rabbit hole right there. Engineer versus musician. There's some cross-pollination, but they are, some of the best musicians I know are very engineer-y type. So if they're playing a brass instrument, they don't think about it in terms of colors or feeling. They think of it as, well, if I apply exactly 0.025 pressure, that it will produce this wave that buzzes the lip. Like, it's amazing to me. But let's drop in this deep research, and then so just to go over this, the Modern Mixing Manual research goal: create a comprehensive modern pop rock mixing and mastering technical manual focusing on in-the-box workflows using, that means not having thousands of dollars worth of hardware that you are sourcing or that you are pushing your signal through. Again, I think that's amazing, but the way the technology has come over the last 20 years, you can mix in the box and get a really, really decent sound. Question like, is it when the levels fit within the desired radius or value? Yeah, so when you look at this waveform, it has a lot of dynamic range. You can see here that during this break or verse, let's hear what it is.
Frequency, yeah, this is my style. Let's get it done. Let's play.
If we had all of this, oh, you're not gonna be able to see this, are you? I might have to move my face. So if we just bypass our entire pack there.
Frequency, yeah, this is my style. Let's get it done. Let's raise the bar toward the sun. Together
we're barely getting into that negative 3 to 5 decibel range. And when we activate everything,
frequency, yeah, this is my style. Let's get it done. Let's raise the bar.
So even the low ends are getting into that yellow or whatever color that is range, so that it's not going to dip down very, very low. Because what a lot of people will do is when they notice these small soft sections are not where they want them to be, they'll pump up the volume just using the fader here. And by processing through gain staging, NLS is more of like our color here. We've got a little bit of drive. We have it on mic. Then we've got our EQ. So we're again popping up the highs to give it a little more air, cutting the low end. Typically I'll take something like a middle at about not 500, more like 800 or so. This is where your analyzer comes into play. Let's see.
Frequency, yeah, this is my style. Let's get it done. Let's raise the bar toward the sun.
You hear that boxiness in there?
Frequency, yeah, this is my style. Let's get it done. Let's raise the bar toward the sun. Together we'll go far.
This is a trick. So you spike to scan the frequency that you don't like, and then see we're at plus 9.7 decibels. Obviously that's not what we want.
Frequency, yeah, this is my style. Let's get it done. Let's raise the bar toward the sun. Together we'll go far. Let's get it done. Let's raise.
I'm going to keep that. So what we're doing is we're identifying, I'm totally on a tangent here. Sorry about that. But yeah, we're identifying the frequency we don't like, and then we're going to cut it. Barely. Again, we're using this on the entire track, so we don't necessarily want to make any sudden movements on it. But does that answer your question? I don't know if that does. And now that our deep research is probably done, that we didn't start, let's drop it right in there. 50-50. All right. 2 votes. When it reaches the necessary technical specifications for the platform delivery while simultaneously satisfying the aesthetic requirement of delivering maximum competitive density and impact. Aesthetic requirement, kind of what I was saying, if it sounds good, that's how you'll know. But using the meters and everything like that is how you're going to be able to see if it's where it should be. So like I was saying, if in the small sections it's way below, okay, cool. Yeah, in the small sections, if it's way below pushing that -3 decibel range, then it's probably not mixed up enough. And so you'll want to tweak that. But that's the main things to do there are gain staging, reducing everything. That's the first one in the chain. Then the last one in the chain, after you use your plugins to color the track like we were with that, not that one, with our NLS. We're using a 2.8 on the drive. That's just to give it a little bit of edgy color. Then we're EQing, we're using the SSL comp, and then we are maximizing to bring it up so that, again, we're attenuating at, that's at -5. It's probably this big hit right here.
Yeah, this is my style. Let's get it done. Let's raise the bar toward the sun. Together we'll go far.
A little aggressive, but at the end of the day, ultra fast, super cheap, and good enough. Because you could sit here and tweak a piece for weeks and weeks and weeks, but the way that the landscape is these days, it's very important to keep moving. Don't dwell on one piece, whether it was a flop or whether it's a hit. Don't dwell on it too much. You got to move on to the next one. So we are long. We're at 1.5 hours. And I mean, I'm cool. I will check to see if this is going. Writing our report right now. All right, great. Well, from Greece, welcome. Good morning. It's not morning there, is it? We've basically been talking mixing and mastering, and we've been going over NotebookLM into the video, meaning what you up to. Oh, you want a shout out? Costadas1. Hell yeah. Let me pull this over here. Oh, you mean, I see what you're saying. I don't know if you wanted a shout out, but you got one. 12:59. All right. 1 p.m. Almost 1300 over there. Well, good afternoon. So yeah, basically what we're up to is our office hours. And today we've been going over NotebookLM, and I was reviewing what I'm doing with our group called the Wunderwoods. I'm the silent bard. Don't think about it too much. And this is LB. So, oh yeah. Hey, Google Translate is getting amazing. So basically we've done a couple of things today, mostly with NotebookLM, which is our business plan, some statistics with the YouTube 2025 Trends Report, and then we also had a question about mastering. If you didn't hear the music we were just working on, this is a piece I wrote last week, and we were going over different levels of mastering an already mixed track. So you start with your gain staging, which is just reducing the entire thing. We have our NLS bus, which is going to add a little bit of color. We don't mess with any of this down here. Then our Q10 is a 10-band EQ. And for high-level mastering, you're going to cut the low end at about 30 decibels, or excuse me, 30 hertz. And we just did an experiment cutting the mids where it sounded a little boxy. And then the top end is going to be to add a little bit of air to it. This is our overall compression, which this, you only want it to be landing about, let's go to the loud section.
Let's get it done. Let's raise the bar toward the sun. Together we'll go far.
1 to 2 decibels on that for mastering. And then finally, we looked at our L2 maximizer, which we were peaking at 4.1. Again, that's kind of aggressive, but I'm not sure what your background in music mixing and mastering is. But basically, we want to keep our out ceiling between negative 0.1 decibels to negative 0.5, which just lets it reach as high as it can without actually clipping. I'm reading right now. Mastering is before you release the song, right? I used to study music technology. We used to have back in 2003 Cubase. Oh, that's great. Yeah, my background is in music with composition and film scoring, and I'm still learning about the engineering stuff. I know a little bit, but I've never been... I basically use technology enough to be able to get into it and learn and produce decent results. So, yeah, that's one of the things I love about music, is that you never check the box. You never say, oh, I learned music today. It's an ongoing thing that we're all learning, and I'll be having office hours daily at 04:30 Eastern Standard Time. So I can't do the math in my head. If it's 6-7 hours ahead of us? Yeah, so definitely check it out, jump in. If there's anything you want to go over at any point, I'm basically either going to be silently working here by myself, and the whole point of this is to show the daily grind in order to build up a new YouTube channel. And this is also just going to be kind of fun in terms of going on different rabbit holes with everybody and seeing, at least on this side of the pond, where all the maniacs are that want to wake up at 4:30 with me and do the grind. So from this, we're also going to be producing shorts or more polished tutorials, things like that. So feel free to reach out, drop anything that you want to hear or what you want to learn about, and I'll learn alongside with you. So we're actually about to never-ending rabbit holes. That is true. That's the ADHD brain in a nutshell. So yeah, we are at about an hour and a half. So we are going to cut it short. We are going to cut it here. But yeah, thank you everybody for jumping into the chats, and I will see you tomorrow at 4:30 sharp. Thanks.